Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to New Gameplay Today. I am Alex Stadnick, and I am joined by the one and only Brian Shea. Hello, sir.
Hey, how's it going, Alex?
It is so good because the hype train just keeps rolling. The last couple weeks have been amazing because this week we're talking Dying Light 2.
Yeah, so I got to go to a media event, my first in-person media event since February 2020.
Wow. That's wild. Was it good? Did you enjoy it?
It was super cool, and the venue was pretty nice, and it was set up really awesome with a bunch of PCs and PS4 stations, so I could actually see that it plays well on old gen consoles as well, because we've seen certain new gen games that also release on old consoles, or actually some that even just release on the old consoles and they run like an N64 game. So they kind of wanted to make sure that they got out ahead of this, that yes, it runs very well on the old consoles as well.
And then, so the PC stations were kind of set up as the next gen / PC example then?
It seemed like it, yeah. So it was a pretty high-end PC that I was playing on, and that's the footage that you're seeing here. But I played the PC version for, I want to say, 3 or 4 hours.
Okay.
And then I played about 20 or 30 minutes of the PS4 Pro version.
Okay, cool. So you got a nice comparison there. So I guess let's not beat around the bush. What did you think? This game is real, contrary to what some people would think, and it sounds like it was fun, right?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, actually. I loved the first Dying Light. It was the second game I ever reviewed for Game Informer. So way back in early 2015, that was the second game I ever reviewed. And I had a really great time with it. But it was one of those games where I was like, this game is going to be so much better when they take some of the lessons they learned from this. And it seems like they did take all those lessons and carry it into Dying Light 2. So obviously one of the big selling points for Dying Light 2 is your choices matter. And I saw that in full force with my demo. I can't really give a ton of spoilers, and I don't think much of our audience wants to hear a ton of spoilers. But there are factions that you can befriend. So there's the Peacekeepers and the Survivors. And there's also some other factions. I don't know if I'm allowed to mention them, though. But I talked to a few different other ones. And you can basically shift the alignment of the entire city based on choices that you make. So I was befriending the Survivors for much of my playthrough. And they're kind of just the ragtag group that is just trying to, as the name implies, survive. Whereas the Peacekeepers are kind of this militaristic faction, they're almost like militarized security that goes around the town, and they're we need to keep the city safe through brute force and weaponry and stuff like that. And based on how you choose to play through the missions and explore the open world and take part in side content, you can actually shift the alignment, and based on what parts of the city are aligned to what factions, you'll unlock different perks. So when I shifted the alignment of part of the city to the Survivors, it gave me more zip lines. They set up a bunch of zip lines so they could traverse across the rooftops without going down the streets where the zombies are. Mm-hmm. Or it will shift it to that of the Peacekeepers. There's different traps that pop up on the ground, so you can actually do better in combat situations against the zombies. So cool stuff like that. And then also, obviously, there's a lot of other cosmetic stuff. I didn't see anything as a big of a tectonic shift as I saw at the E3 2019 demo, where based on what side you or what faction you side with, they the map will change completely, in terms of the water draining and a whole new area to explore. I didn't see anything like that in my playthrough, but definitely it's choices matter. And talking with the team, I was asking them oh, what if I did this? And they're well, if you went this different route, these main characters in my story might have just been more minor characters, and they might have even been enemies, which it's wow, this one character was seemed like a best friend, or even possibly a main quest giver, and it's that character might have been an enemy if I went a different route. And it's just wild to think that it seems there's just so many different storylines that you can navigate through.
Well, and especially too because Rosario Dawson's in this game. They have bigger names attached to this, and it's interesting that they would change their story accordingly. That's exciting though. I'm here for it.
I got to play 2 regions. There's 2 regions that I got to play. I believe there are more than the 2 regions. There were 2 regions in the original base game, but and I saw 2 regions that actually reflected the two regions of the original game. So the original game started in the slums, and it was like kind of like shambly assembled air like buildings with like maybe 1 or 2 stories. Then you went to Old Town, which was like 3 or 4 stories, and this one starts in Old Villador, which is kind of like a more like residential area with lots of like smaller settlements. But then I went to Central Loop, like I kind of jumped forward, and that's where I met Lawan, which is Rosario Dawson's character, and she gave me like a hang glider, or I forget what the exact terminology they used was, but it was like I could like glide around the city, and there's like air vents that will shoot you up, so you can traverse like huge distances without having to worry about like going down the streets or finding a zip line or stuff like that. But yeah, like she seems like she's going to be a pretty central character. Her performance was great from what I saw. And yeah, like I'm excited to see where her story goes. I don't know if like they're gonna make it so like you can't interact with her very much. Like I'm sure like there's ways like, but it seems like she's going to be like a main thread in the story based on what I saw.
For sure. So getting back to the gameplay a little bit, Dying Light made its name for being kind of like having that Mirror's Edge level of parkour, with gunplay and combat that was solid, right? But still had a little bit of jank to it, at least when it came out, right? Like, how does this feel to finally actually get your hands on and play?
Oh, it feels so good. And after I saw the E3 2019 demo, I got so hyped on this game that I went back and replayed Dying Light 1. And you're right, there's a lot of, for lack of a better word, jank. Like, like there's certain things where it's like I would try to climb a ledge and it wouldn't go to the area that I thought I was looking at. Because the way it works is you look at a ledge and then you press the right bumper and you'll jump up and grab the ledge that you're looking at. And it works a decent amount of the time in the first one. The second one, it feels much more precise.
Good.
Definitely still feels like and they rebuilt the system from the ground up, but it feels very much true to the original system. But there's like so many more animations, so many more moves that you can do. Like I mentioned, there's like different tools that you can use to traverse. So you can like kind of hang glide over to a place, or you can use like a grappling hook. And I didn't get to use that, unfortunately, but it looks super fun. And then I unlocked like a wall run, so I could jump, wall run, and go over a little bit of Titanfall 2 action.
Oh, now you're speaking my language. Yeah.
And like you can like ride on the doors. So like if there's like a door, you can like jump over, grab the door, and like kind of swing around and use its momentum. And like you can swing from bars, kind of like Uncharted style.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah, but like it feels great, and I think combat also feels really awesome. It feels much more reactive in terms of like when you hit a part of the zombie's body, it reacts based on where you're hitting more so than it did in the first game. And the weapons feel a whole lot more satisfying. The ragdoll physics are super satisfying. Like when you wind up and like I had like a 2-handed mace, and I wound up and like I basically like I felt like I was playing like a golf game because I just swung it and the zombie went flying off like the roof, and I was like, this is awesome.
That's incredible. Very nice. So this game is slated for early next year, February, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did you get a sense playing it? Because it sounds like everything was playing well. Like, but was the build solid, or did it feel like this needed a little bit more time to cook, like that kind of stuff?
This day and age in gaming, it's always going to be patches after launch or day one patches and stuff like that. But the build that I played was very solid, and it ran very smooth. Like the PC version was running at 60 frames per second.
Nice.
And the textures were pretty great. The PS4 Pro version is locked at 30 frames per second from what I understand. And, the textures were slightly like lower fidelity, and it was also like a little bit more pop-in.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you're looking off in the distance and you're running, because like you're moving through the city pretty fast when you're like doing a smooth parkour section.
For sure.
And it seems like it's on the right track. And I think that like the reason this kept getting delayed, it seems like it was a combination of just wanting to make this the most polished experience possible, while also dealing with a pandemic that upended everybody's lives and work situations.
100%. Viewers, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Be good to one another, and we will see you next time. Bye, everyone.